105.7 Highlands Light FM. Good morning. It is 75% chance of rain today. I hate to be the bearer of bad tidings. 77 outside right now.
Advisory services offered through Second Half Financial Partners, LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisor. The opinions voiced and information provided in this material are for general informational purposes only and are not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual. To determine which investments are appropriate for you, please consult with a financial advisor. Second Half Financial Partners, LLC does not provide tax or legal advice. Please consult your tax or legal advisor regarding your particular situation.
Tis time to check in and find out what your financial situation looks like this morning with what's going on Wall Street. On the telephone, my friend Phillip Statler from Statler Financial Services in downtown Sebring. Phillip, good morning. Welcome home. Glad to have you here.
Hey, good morning, Dave. Good to be back at the office. And but yesterday, not a great day yesterday. I mean, we obviously after Friday, we expected some drawback, but it was somewhat of a drawback yesterday.
Yeah, it was kind of a give-back day. I've always said we overreacted days after great big dips. We can do the same thing with a great big bump. After an 800-point gain on the Dow on Friday, we gave back $349 worth of it yesterday. 27.5 down on the Standard & Poor's. That's only about a third of what they gained the day before. NASDAQ down 47. That again about 40% of what they gained on Friday. So net across 2 days, we're doing just fine. But boy, yesterday, looking at it in a vacuum, was not a good day, was it?
No, it wasn't. Even the Russell 2000 was down almost 1% yesterday.
And that was being up like 3% on the trading day before that. So, yeah, it was one of those, okay, we got some euphoria. Paulson kind of alluded to the possibility that he's softening on his stance against an interest rate increase or an interest rate hold steady strategy. And all of a sudden the market said, oh, whoopee, and everything went crazy for a day. So we bring it up to yesterday and a little bit of a correction factor to the euphoria of Friday. And right about the time the market closed, President Trump decided to fly something into the soup and announced that he wanted to fire Federal Reserve Governor Lisa Cook. She's got some scandal going around her. In fairness, you got to say, he's got something in there to be at the very least pointing fingers. But that having been said, Lisa says, I ain't leaving, and Trump says you are leaving, and that's got a whole lot of investment watchers in a bit of a tizzy because as a Biden appointee to the the Fed governor's position, she's been kind of against a rate decrease, and that'll kind of throw a little fly into the soup for the next September meeting if he can get a replacement in time and get her moved out of her office.
It should be interesting. I saw that she hired Hunter Biden's attorney to represent her. So it's going to be a fight. And so the question is, and I'm sure this will go to court pretty quickly as terms of, trying to get a stay on her seat. So I would expect that we'll see some filings here pretty quickly, asking that Trump not be allowed to do this, or at least put a temporary stay on it until the court has time to react, which would leave her in that seat for the September meeting.
Yeah, and as usual, when depending upon whether you want a Democratic or a Republican outcome, they go judge shopping and see if they can't find a federal district court that has a judge that's likely to agree with them. So your point's well taken. There probably will be a restraining order as far as any movement until after the September meeting, but judge shopping is becoming almost an art form in the legal profession. Other stuff going on. I saw something go across that the government is now saying, in addition to talking about taking a stake in Intel, the big chip producer, now they're talking about taking a stake in some of the defense stocks that are out there as well. Allusion to the notion of Trump saying that the federal government can be a productive partner for some of our for some of the publicly traded companies. I'm not sure I know what to think about that. Propping up Intel because they got problems might make some economic sense. Even Bernie Sanders liked that idea, but I'm not sure we want to start investing in the companies that sell to us heavily.
Yeah, that might not be such a good idea, but it's interesting, because so many countries have their own sovereign wealth funds, which are basically that government making an investment in business. And it's something that we've not done in the United States other than to bail out different industries. I mean, we've bailed out banks by loaning money. We bailed out the automakers by loaning money with some ownership stakes. So it's not unheard of. Like I said, different countries have sovereign wealth funds, and maybe it is a way that that investment can help reduce our debt. That would be a good thing looking forward.
And that's a valid point. I mean, the sovereign wealth fund we hear about all the time is the Saudi fund because it's so doggone big since they've got their big oil company as a government holding. But from what I read, this months and months and months ago, most countries in the Western Hemisphere have sovereign wealth funds, and it's something we haven't done. I'm a little queasy about the notion of the government getting involved in private industry. It was the same thing I'd mentioned during the time that we were talking about privatizing a point of Social Security. If the government calls the winners and the losers in the approved stocks, that means the government has a much larger say in the private enterprise market than otherwise. But it'll be an interesting proposal to watch at absolute minimum, won't it?
It will be. And some of those other countries aren't as capitalistic as we are either. So, so we'll see how that works out and see the pros and cons. I'm sure will be laid out over the future weeks and months.
Absolutely. Well, I was soloing yesterday. I said the first half of this week is relatively quiet, but pretty much all heck breaks loose starting tomorrow. The tech stocks, I'm guessing, are just waiting to see what NVIDIA can do. One of the things we've talked about for the last few weeks is, the general shift out of the magnificent seven tech stocks and diversifying the tech holdings, and some concern about whether or not you can seriously make money off of artificial intelligence. I got to believe that the big kahuna in the Magnificent Seven reporting tomorrow when NVIDIA reports is going to be a true market mover, because it may change a few minds in terms of folks that are rotating out of the big tech companies, wouldn't you guess?
Well, it could very well make some differences because I was reading an article that basically the options market is saying that basically the earnings report is basically a 6%, could be up to a 6% event, meaning that we could see over a $250 billion swing in Nvidia. It could be up, it could be down, right? I think they're assuming it's going to be up, but let's face it, they've been under pressure to not just beat the numbers, but beat the numbers significantly. And when they don't, then they see a little bit of a retrenchment. And so it'll be interesting to see how those numbers play out tomorrow. And that's, I think, after the market closes tomorrow.
That's what I've read. They do it after the bell tomorrow afternoon. And your point's well taken. I mean, NVIDIA, those high-flying stocks like that, you're not expected to beat the street. You're expected to cream the street by comparison. When Apple was, the big growth stock at the time, if they didn't beat the street by like 10%, they ended up getting traded down. And that's kind of the syndrome that's cursing NVIDIA at this point, isn't it?
It really is. I did see there's a couple other tidbits that really caught my eye. AT&T is buying some licenses from EchoStar, the communication stock, a significant amount, like $23 billion worth. That'll close sometime in 2026. Obviously, AT&T is not getting much benefit from that on their stock price. I mean, they were trading up less than 1%. EchoStar, on the other hand, trading up this morning 73% right now.
Holy crud. That's a surprise to me. Since AT&T has been kind of de-emphasizing the satellite delivery of their direct TV system, that kind of surprised me that now they're looking at investing back into a satellite-heading company. That's interesting. I'm not 100% sure what's going through their mind.
Well, I think, Dave, it's more they need the wireless licenses to be able to put more wireless people, sell more wireless phones, and so I'm thinking it has more to do with that than their satellite deal.
Frequency allocations.
Yep.
That I actually understand. Government data dump really goes crazy on Thursday. We're going to get our second reading on the second quarter gross domestic product. Remember, we were so surprised by a 3% annualized raise when they gave us the first reading on it last month. Now at least some of my economists are saying that they expected to be revised upward from 3% during the second quarter.
Yeah,
That sounds
what
like
I'm seeing
sounds
too.
like an NVIDIA expectation to me. We're expecting bigger achievements than we had planned.
Not a big deal, but still 3.1 is the expectation that my guys are saying. So we'll see what that looks like. We also get pending home sales to Thursday. Now that'll be after you and I are off the air, but they're expecting pending home sales to go up as well.
I'm happy to see good reports expected. I just get nervous when everything expected to come up roses, doesn't it?
Exactly. Yeah.
It's too much of an opportunity to cruise for a bruising. Then on Friday we get the PCE inflation number, and that's probably going to make the Chicago Mercantile Exchange's Fed Watch tool go crazy, depending upon whether it goes up or down, because the expectation is that the PCE inflation is supposed to basically, let's see here, yeah, they expect it to go up ever so slightly on the core number, which is what Jay Powell talks about being his tool to make his stance as far as interest rates. So if it goes up by a tinge, I suspect that Fed Watch number for the odds of an interest rate decrease will change substantially, wouldn't you guess?
I would think that it will have an impact. Now, how substantially, I'm not sure, because they're all seem to be leaning that direction. And so you would think the numbers would make a difference, but I'm not so sure about the Fed. At this point, I think there's so much pressure that that they, I think there are going to be some dissension, but I think that there's so much riding on this, and there's been so much pressure on them that they may cave this time.
I got you. I did get one thing in, just came in, the durable goods numbers. Durable goods orders for long-lasting goods down 2.8 during the month of July. That was third drop in the last 4 months. So there is a little fly in the ointment out there somewhere as far as the economic numbers. I didn't even realize that was coming up until it came up on my ticker this morning. Any other tidbits that you know of? Any the reports really of companies we've heard of really get heavy again tomorrow as well.
Yeah, they do. There was one other, let's see if I can see. Yes. So there's going to be another change in the S&P 500. Yep. Walgreens is getting booted, and International Brokerage Group is coming in. And so that helped the International Brokerage Group. They're up about 3% this morning.
Wow. The big reaction I've got to that is Walgreens was a Dow 30 stock just a couple of years ago, got booted out of the Dow 30, and now they're kicked out of the S&P 500. How the mighty have fallen, right?
Yeah, exactly. We're seeing.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So that's be interesting.
It is. Resetting the table for the morning. It was a profit-taking day as much as anything. That plus kind of a correction of an overreaction on Friday. Pretty much red ink on the equity markets yesterday. 45 minutes before we open today, what are we looking at?
Still got a slight red this morning, Dave. The Dow's down 0.1%. The S&P 500 is down almost 0.1%. Well, everything's kind of in that same ballpark. And the NASDAQ 100 is down about 0.1% as well. The only green ink right now is the Russell 2000, up a little over 0.1%. So mixed bag there. On the other side of the coin, we got silver retreating a little bit, down 0.7%, while gold is bouncing about 0.2% right now. The one you're really going to like, though, Dave, is crude oil. Crude oil down right now 1.7% to $63.70 a barrel.
That makes me happy. It was over 64 yesterday morning while I was soloing. Going across the ponds, I pretty much have got red ink wall to wall as well. The Asian rim, the only one that's up is Japan. The mainland Chinese market's down by about 1/3% at the early morning close. Over in Europe, I'm pretty much red ink all over. The average European index down by about 0.4% halfway through the day. I wouldn't call it a sell-off, but it's definitely a red ink day over in the European community as well. Getting my retirement plans together mean turning dreams into plans and knowing I'll be able to retire. That takes a good set of eyes. How do I find your eyes to use them and get mine going?
Dave, that's why I developed the core retirement design to help people sit down and design that retirement they always dreamed of. Give us a call. We'll give you 30 minutes of our time to see if you're on the right track to the retirement you always dreamed of. 863-382-0037. And then catch us this weekend for the Statler Financial Radio Show, 6 a.m. and noon on Saturday, 10 a.m. Sunday morning on Highlands News Talk, 7:30 a.m., 95.3 FM.
And back here again tomorrow morning about the same time on Light. You have a good day, my friend, and I'll see you then, all right?
All right, buddy. Take care.
Thank you. It's 105.7 Light FM and Statler Financial Services, Phillip Statler.
Hey, folks, again, I want to thank you for joining us today. Hope you have a great day. Join us again tomorrow. Bye now.